Welcome to the Epcotian Adventure,
a podcast where we'll talk about all things Disney,
including tips and tricks, festivals and favorites, and the very latest in news and reviews.
But we're still old enough to remember when common sense and common courtesy were just a little bit more common.
This is episode 28, How to Guest.
Or, even at Disney World, the golden rule applies to everyone.
So now, please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast as we embark on our Epcotian adventure. Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 28 of the Epcotian Adventure. I'm Rod.
And I'm Sue.
And today we're going to talk about how to be a guest.
That's right.
How is it that we have to remind you how to be a guest, folks? I know those of you listening to the podcast, most likely this is going to be
preaching to the choir.
You're going to go, oh, yeah, a lot. And that's perfect. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with how to be a guest at Walt Disney World, or just in general, we're going to talk about that today. Now, of course, we probably don't need to tell you how to be a decent human. That's probably in part of your nature.
I hope.
We're hoping. But there's been so much in the news recently about people getting into confrontations with other guests at Walt Disney World. We're just going to go over some basic reminders of what it is to be a guest from a cast member's perspective.
And hopefully some things that maybe you haven't thought of that can make, even if you know how to guest, if you know how to be kind and successfully navigate your way through the park. Hopefully we're going to have a couple of things on our list that maybe you haven't thought of that can make your day even more pleasant.
Yeah, this is really a tips and tricks episode, so we're going to bring up some basic subjects here about how to be a common human at Disney, but it's also going to lead to other conversations about things about how it is from a cast member perspective, seeing guests every day, and what it is from a guest perspective, how to treat those cast members.
Yes, that is such a big part of your day. And those cast member and guest interactions are just a huge part of the Disney magic. And we just want to, make sure that they stay magical.
So we're going to start by looking at this from the cast member perspective. How do you treat cast members? Well, of course, cast members are humans, just like anybody else. I know a lot of people, I remember when I worked at Disneyland Magic Kingdom and California Adventure, a lot of people treated us like we were part of the show, like we were an animatronic. Most people think that cast members don't eat, drink, sleep, or even go to the bathroom. We just explode when we're 50. But no, that's not true. So how do you interact with cast members?
Yeah, so when we started talking through these talking points of how to guest, as we're calling it, the first thing on the list was be nice to cast members. And that should be, common courtesy, common sense. But the more we thought about it, the more we thought, you know what, be nice to cast members breaks down into so many different parts and pieces. So the first section is going to be about those cast member interactions. So on the top of our list is how do you do a complaint?
So yeah, if you have a complaint about something that occurred, talk to a cast member. That's what they're there for. They're there to make sure your day is fantastic. That's the whole sole purpose of being a cast member at a Disney park.
And most cast members are going to take that very seriously. I know that when I was a cast member, it was such a joyful experience to be able to turn a guest day around.
Yeah, we called it a magic moment.
Yes.
Go out and make a magic moment, or hand out a no strings attached.
Yeah.
That was a Disneyland thing that occurred.
I don't know if those still exist. We called them NSAs. It was just a no strings attached. It was a little green slip that had Pinocchio on it.
They have something similar now at all of the parks where they can, replace a lunch that got ruined by rain.
Or a balloon that just flew away.
Exactly.
Or somebody's shoes who just stepped in horse poop, or
and it does happen.
It does happen, but there's a way to, as a cast member, it's a great moment to be able to turn that guest's day around. So approach a cast member, not yelling, not screaming. You don't have to be loud to be heard, and that cast member is going to want to help you.
Right. If you treat the cast member with respect, you're going to go a lot farther getting your complaint taken care of than if you come up to them and said, okay, this is my problem, now it's your problem too. And yes, that
And
was
that does
said
happen.
exactly to me in those words at the parks. So,
And legitimately, complaints happen. Like, you shouldn't just swallow those things up and take them with you and let them fester. If you have an issue, talk to the cast member. Go to guest relations. If it escalates a little bit and you want to talk to someone higher up, ask to talk to a lead, go to guest relations, talk to them there. But always, always, always be respectful. There's never a cause to scream at a cast member, or a fellow guest for that matter.
and if a cast member tells you no, or I'm sorry, we cannot do that, or yes, we understand it's raining, it's not something that they want to do to be mean to you. They're literally saying, I am sorry, there is no resolution that I can offer you. So what Sue just said is the perfect answer.
Yeah, and keep in mind, and this goes with all customer service jobs, but it seems to happen a lot at Disney in particular. The person who you are complaining to, it's 99 times out of 100, it's not their fault. It is not their issue. You're not complaining about them. You're complaining to them. So they want to be sympathetic. You have to lead that off.
From a cast member perspective, too, it seemed like a lot of times when we were dealing with guest complaints or issues, literally it was not something that was in anybody's control, but the guest literally just wanted somebody to bounce something off of, to be a sounding board, have that cast member go, I am so sorry it's raining, or yes, I understand the prices are high, or I understand that your shoe fell in the water.
Hey, now you're getting personal, because that's
Parts of the
might have
Caribbean.
happened to
Listen
me.
back to one of our older podcasts for that story. That's a fun one. Anyway, so the first two of those are something a cast member cannot fix. If it's raining, or if the attraction breaks down, or the prices are too high, the cast member that you're talking to cannot fix that. If a shoe falls in the water, if a balloon falls away, or flies away, falls away, if it pops, literally, and falls away, that is something a cast member will try to help you with. But if you're screaming at them and yelling at them, they're going to find a way to say no, and it's not going to happen. You're not going to get it fixed.
Yeah, like we said in our intro, the golden rule applies. You want to treat them the way you want to be treated, and that's exactly what's going to happen. If you are kind to a cast member, they can make your day so magical, and if you are not, they are not obligated to give you anything.
Now, if the cast member, and this is a big if the cast member is the problem, don't take it up with them. Simply take it to guest relations. So City Hall on Main Street, guest relations at Studios or one of the other parks.
At Epcot, yeah.
It's all called just guest relations at the other parks. Or even Disney Springs. And go ahead and voice your complaint. Now, that cast member may or may not be reprimanded for it. It depends on the severity of the issue. But don't push the cast member. Don't scream at the cast member. Simply walk away and make your problem known to somebody higher up. Now, better yet, when a cast member does something magical for you, there is now a way online through the interwebs to do guest compliments.
This is built right into the app now, and it is so easy. They've made this so easy. All you have to do is go into the My Disney Experience app, do a search for cast member compliment. It'll pop right up. You fill out the screen of where they're located, the time you met with them, their name if you have it. You might not. Even their hometown is an option on there if they have a really common name, because it's on their name tag. As much information as you can fill out. It's all drop-down menus, what they did for you, how they made your day better. All of that they've made it so easy, and it means the world to that cast member.
It really does. Cast member compliments are something that cast members literally live for. The compliments keep the cast members motivated. It keeps them happy. The other thing you can do, and this is something I don't want to push too hard, you are not allowed to tip a cast member, but you can do what's called a magical moment for a cast member, which is give them a card that says, thank you for doing what you do, especially on a holiday. If you're there on Thanksgiving, on Christmas especially, those are two of the big ones where cast members are feeling lonely and away from their family. if you can give them
just a card.
Yeah.
A lot of people even
have them made up.
Yeah, they make them. You can print them at home, or you can do little trinkets like little charms and stuff. I've seen those. Stickers, anything that just, you don't have to give away gifts. Even just stopping and saying, thank you so much for emptying that trash can. Thank you so much for making the magic. It means the world.
Mousekeeping is another really good place for this. So if you're staying at a Disney resort, you are allowed to tip them. And people will actually bring envelopes to put the money in, along with a note that says, thank you so much for cleaning our room. Here's an extra $20 or something of that nature.
While we're on that, if you do that for mousekeeping, which is Disneyland housekeeping, of course, Disney housekeeping.
I guess we should say that.
Yeah. It is called mousekeeping. But if you do that, make sure that you do have an envelope or a Post-it or something that says, this is for you.
Exactly.
Because
otherwise
if you just leave money in your hotel room, they're not going to know to take it. They're not going to take your money. So if you do want to tip your mousekeeping staff member, just leave it with a little note.
Very, very good point, sis.
So a couple more things about cast member interactions, things just to keep in mind. When you and or your children meet with characters in the park, sometimes those lines get long. Sometimes the kids get a little rambunctious. Sometimes that 3-year-old has been waiting literally his whole life to meet Mickey Mouse. And it just can escalate quickly. So just keep in mind that Mickey and all of his friends are not jungle gyms. Don't pull on ears or
tails is the big one. Remember, folks, the tails really are attached.
They are.
Even Eeyores.
And there are actual injuries that happen on a daily basis.
Yeah,
so be really cautious. And we shouldn't need to say this, but we're going to say it. Be appropriate.
And be respectful of the characters.
Yep.
Do not go up and ask Gaston to marry you. Don't ask Mickey to hold your child.
Don't ask Ariel for her phone number. Don't, hugs are great. Give the cast member your love. Give that character all of your love. But keep it family friendly.
And if you have questions, since these characters, most of them are not able to speak out loud in the human world, unless you can see their face, then of course you can, if it's a princess. But if we're talking about Mickey or Minnie or Goofy or Donald, and you have a question, there's always a friend standing next to the character that you can ask, or have your child ask a question to, that they can answer about the character.
They're usually fantastic at miming their answer. So it's actually kind of fun to do like a little charades thing with them and try to see what they're saying. But if you don't get it, just ask the attendant, ask their friend.
Here's a little tip as well. If you're looking for some hard-to-find characters, go to Epcot and hang out by the gate next to Canada, or between Canada and UK, that you would see open to the festival arena that's open occasionally, or over on the left-hand side of the America Pavilion. Both of those locations, you're going to see some characters occasionally show up that you're not used to seeing in a Disney park or outside of the Magic Kingdom even.
It's been really cool lately. They've been having Smee came out.
Geppetto.
I mean, it's been...
Foulfellow. Yeah. There's been some very unique and hard-to-find characters. They even had one of the Country Bears.
They did. Was it Wendell? I think Wendell.
I think it was Wendell, yeah.
Can't remember which one. I think it was Wendell.
Yeah,
anyway, one of the Country Bears.
It's amazing what you can find at Epcot. So there you go.
And the appropriate princess for all of the countries has started showing up. So if you go to China, you might see Mulan. If you go to Germany, you might find Snow White. In France, you can find Belle or Aurora or any number. There's a bunch of them in France. But but you just never know who you're going to see. So keep an eye out. And please, please, please just always be respectful and courteous and family friendly.
And don't ask them about things in the real world. If you've got a question about, hey, how's that Disney stock doing?
Yeah, don't ask about Bob Iger. Don't ask about...
They're not going to know who you're talking about.
Ask, if you see Jasmine, ask her how Aladdin's doing. What's Raja up to? When did you get to go to the market last time? So, yeah, those are some good tips to have some good interactions with those cast members. Another thing this goes for non-character cast members, but for your everyday cast members, when you see them, they are sometimes human. I know it's hard to swallow.
They look so real.
They're not. But
no.
The microchip gets activated. But there were so many times as a cast member when you have just had a long day and you just came off of a tough interaction or you've just had a long shift, please just don't tell a cast member to smile.
Yeah.
They have been smiling for the last 8 hours, I guarantee you. If they're not in that one moment, just let them have a moment. Just don't.
Yeah, and this whole, well, that one didn't smile. I'm going to take a picture of him and go down to guest relations. Yeah. Please don't do that. Cast members will have moments on stage where things did not go right in their lives, in the park. Like Sue said, the last thing that somebody said to them may have hurt them. And they have to still stand there and try to work the position they're working. Cast members are human. Yeah, and here again, this is where a good, kind word might bring that smile.
Yes.
But looking at them and going, hey, you're not smiling.
Isn't it your job to smile?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do
Cast
that.
members know their job. And this leads to another thing. Cast members, if they are asking you to do something, you need to do it. Because
that is the
they're
very
not,
next thing on our list. How did you know?
I'm psychotic. Or psychic. Or
both.
Psychiatrist. No, wait a minute.
Those are not mutually exclusive.
Well, that's true. So, if a cast member, especially guest control cast members, are asking you to stand in a certain location or not stand in a certain location or after the fireworks or phantasmic exits or any other situation where there are tens of thousands of people around and one person is trying to wave their light or point in a direction or point to a sign and say, go this way, go that way. Don't argue with them that, hey, I know better that I need to go over there. There are certain pathways set up for keeping the flow moving without getting people hitting each other going different directions that cast members have set up for your benefit.
And your safety.
Listen to them. And your safety, yes.
And the safety of everyone around you. It's not always about you. Sometimes it's about the bigger picture. So just go with the flow, literally. Just go with the flow that they're trying
Crush. To... Go with the flow.
Go with the flow! That's the only way to
And I won't sing that, but it's a great song.
It is a great song.
But just go on with the way that they're trying to get you to move. For all you know, there's an emergency somewhere that they're trying to steer you around. They may be trying to filter other people into the show that you just left. There's all kinds of reasons. They do this literally every day. Just listen to them.
Yeah, we actually had a situation one time when I was working at Critter Country where we had to evacuate the area because of a potential serious issue with an electric vault. And so they had to cut power to that part of the park. So we had to not only evacuate Critter Country, but we had to set up a line of cast members between Splash Mountain and the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland and keep people from going back that way. Well, a gentleman decided that, well, he knew better, and there's a restroom right down there. And so he under the rope, and 5 cast members follow him. We're not trying to manhandle the person, but we're trying to, cut him off and say, sir, cannot go this way. And he's like, I have to go to the bathroom. And the cast members ended up walking with him all the way to the bathroom. And he got there and he goes, wait, how do I turn the lights on? It's what we've been trying to tell you, sir. There is no power in this part of the park. Go back the way you came. We'll show you where the restroom is. We'll even walk you there. And he was mad that he didn't listen to our directions. And when he didn't get his way at the location, he was even madder. It's like, listen to the cast members. They really do know what they're doing.
And it's for a reason. Just believe that there's a reason. So this last one on the cast member interaction is actually going to segue us right into our non-cast member interaction segment. And this is, if you've made a reservation, be on time.
Yes, right now with Lightning Lane, you can usually be 5 to 10 15 minutes late, sometimes depending on the attraction. If you're a few minutes late to Small World, they're probably going to let you in because, it's Small World. But if you're a few minutes late to Tron,
you're out of luck.
if you yell at them, you're really out of luck. Now, if you're 5 minutes late and you go, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I stopped to help a broken chipmunk with his car that ran into a poodle."
That happens.
Okay, they might let you in 5 minutes. But usually, especially with food reservations at the busier restaurants like Be Our Guest, you're limited to access during the time that you actually have your reservation for. Tron right now is very strict in that. You're not going to be able to sweet talk your way onto the attraction because you're an hour late because you forgot. Or you were sitting at a restaurant and you just had to have one last drink and
Yeah, so that's going to apply, like Rod said, to a ride reservation of any kind, to a restaurant reservation, to anything. If you're late to a show, if you're late to Festival of the Lion King, you're out of luck. They're not going to let you in 5 minutes late, even though you stopped to help the chipmunk. It's not going to, because the show has to start on time. There's a theater full of people that weren't late. So again, it all comes back to knowing that you are one person in this giant wheel that has to turn at a certain rate. So as important as every guest is, it's not always about the one guest.
Exactly. Now, if you know you're going to be late for an attraction for a lightning lane, if it's a non-purchase lightning lane, in other words, it's through Genie Plus,
an individual lightning lane.
Right, not an individual. You can do what Molly calls fiddle faddling, which is to go on to the app and hit modify and look for a later time and go ahead and rebook your existing lightning lane for another time. If it's an individual lightning lane you've purchased, you may be able to go to guest relations and get them to move it for you manually. They will not be able to do that. But don't show up at the attraction an hour late and try to talk your way on. It's not going to happen.
And don't try to go to guest relations at the end of the night and say, "Oh, I forgot to use this."
Yeah, there's no refunds. Sorry.
Yeah, and the best equation that we've seen is to equate it to a movie ticket. If you have a ticket to see the 3 o'clock showing and you show up at 6 o'clock to a full theater, they're just going to be like, "Sorry, you don't get a refund for that. Your seat was sitting there waiting for you." So just sort of keep that in mind, that it's more like making a movie reservation.
Now, if you have a dining reservation and you know you're going to be late, you can actually cancel up to 2 hours in advance for most reservations at the Walt Disney World Resort. That does not go for some of the higher-end restaurants like Victoria and Albert's or Monsieur Paul's. But those ones, yeah, you're going to get dinged if you show up late.
If you're on park and you know you're walking past Coral Reef, you're like, "Oh man, we've got a reservation later, and we just realized that it's festival time and we're going to eat around the world instead." Drop in, talk to them in person, and see what they can do for you to cancel your reservations.
Well, and most of those reservations, you probably read that you were going to get charged $10 per person. So
Yep.
You probably know that, but some people actually go right past that and just go boop, boop, boop on their device and don't realize that you're actually going to get charged per person if you don't show up or cancel the reservation within a certain time.
That is correct. Don't let that happen to you. So some non-cast member interactions that we want to go over. Things that you can do or that you can just be aware of to make your day more pleasant. Top of the list is the weather. The weather is not under any of our control. Even Mickey Mouse cannot control the weather.
I actually had a guest come up to me working at Magic Kingdom when I was there doing a parade crowd control shift, and the guest was complaining to me that it was raining and suggested that I put the dome up. And I thought she was joking, so I ended up laughing and along with her, and no, she was not joking. She was in tears. It ruined her day, and she insisted I put the dome up, and I said, "I'm sorry, I can't," and off to guest relations she went to complain. Going back to what we just talked about, that is how you escalate it, and that is not going to happen.
Yeah, and I would be willing to bet you did not get reprimanded for that one.
I did not get reprimanded for that one.
Here's the thing about the dome. The dome is only accessible through a secret password that only Walt knew.
That's
so now that he's
right.
passed away, we can't access the dome
Can't
anymore.
put the dome up anymore. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah. Yeah, no, the dome doesn't.
There's no
really.
dome.
No dome.
No dome. All that to say, the weather is something that's going to happen. You can complain about it, you can not complain about it, but you know what? It's happening to everybody. So just embrace it.
Like we said in the past episode, when it rains, dance in the rain. Just have fun.
But complaining is not going to help. So
But
there you go.
And that leads to another part of this. Always have a plan B. And we actually did an entire episode on plan Bs for Disney. But when it comes to weather, have a plan B for an attraction in each kind of area that you can fall back to.
Yep.
The Country Bear Jamboree, the Tiki Room,
The Land
Carousel of
Pavilion.
Progress, Land Pavilion. Yeah, we're talking Epcot. Land is perfect for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's places everywhere where you can get out of the heat or you can get out of the rain and just take a little break and let it pass by because it's gonna.
Land. That's why I say land, is because it's got 3 attractions and a food court. I mean, come on.
How can you go wrong? Which leads us into our next point, which again we're going to borrow from Molly from the Mammoth Club. And if you're a Disney fan and you're not following the Mammoth Club, are you really a Disney fan? I mean, come on. So Molly knows everything.
Shout out to the Mam Fam.
We are the Mam Fam.
We are the Mam Fam.
So shout out to them for sure because we love them. But as Molly likes to say, bring your patient pants.
Oh my heavens, please, please, please. And this goes back to the cast member interactions as well. You can't yell at a cast member for something that a guest did. You can't yell at a cast member for something that the weather did. You have to be patient. But not only with the cast members, be patient with each other.
Yes. And even with yourselves. If you are needing a moment because you are suffering from the heat, don't push through. Put on your patient pants. Have a little moment. Take your time. Take a deep breath. Stop and get an iced coffee. Stop and get a drink of water. Just sit on a bench and people watch for a minute. Just take a moment.
Here's a couple tips, too, to keep you from getting to that point. If the fireworks have just ended, if Fantasmic has just ended at studios, if it's the end of the day at any of the parks, there is going to be a mass rush to the exit, to the buses, to the monorail, to the Skyliner. Know this going in, that if you plan to stay through the end of Epcot Forever, for instance, and you're at the back of the park and you're walking to the Skyliner, you may have another hour wait to get on the Skyliner. It's nobody's fault. It's just the number of people that are ahead of you and got there quicker than you did. So either your plan B could be leave a bit early. If you've seen the show before, leave before the finale is over and get in line for the bus or the monorail or the Skyliner ahead of the crowd.
Or the better option
is to hang back and go do some shopping.
You might as well shop for that hour that you would stand in line. Or the park's usually still open. It doesn't always close at the very end of the fireworks. There's usually 2 shows. If you're at the first one, take a minute.
Exactly.
Go back to Fantasyland and ride all the stuff because the kids just left. Which kind of leads us into the next thing while we're talking about these nighttime shows. And you can take this with a grain of salt because we are Disney adults who go to the park childless. But to the parents and the aunties and uncles who are bringing the kids to the park, please control your offspring.
Yeah, it's not the cast member or other humans around you. It's not their job to watch your child.
And it's not the place to let them run around and lick stanchions and kick people and push their bum while they're in line behind you. Like,
whoa, no touchy. No touchy. No touch.
If you're standing watching a fireworks show or a parade and you know that your small one cannot see the show or the parade, go to the furthest back point. So if you're on Main Street, put yourself up against the rope. If you're at Frontierland, put yourself on the bridge and put the child up on your shoulders there. Don't put the child up on your shoulders and block everybody's view behind you that's been waiting in front of the castle for an hour. You're going to get yelled at.
Or
every time.
Or know that you can see the show. So if you put your child on your hip and you're holding them, they can also see the show because their head's going to be where yours is. You can see the show, they can see the show, the people behind you can see the show because it's just like another person standing there as opposed to a giant who's now 9 feet tall.
At the Magic Kingdom, this is one of the splurges we talked about. Look into the fireworks dining package, or the dessert package that they have, because then you're up against a table with chairs and nobody in front of you. So a child, especially for a first-time kid, it's magical. Not only do they have their own special place to be right there to see the fireworks, they have desserts. They have caffeine and sugar and all the stuff you want them to have at 9 o'clock. Well, okay. They also have other things like fruit and cheese and things that are good for kids at that time of night. But that's a good splurge for a child who wants to see the fireworks for the first time. Also, they don't have 10,000 people around them.
Right. The other option is if you know that those fireworks or whatever that nighttime show is a priority for you or your child, then spend the time. Get there early and get a good spot so that they don't have to be on your shoulders.
Along the same lines, please, please, please don't hold your cell phone or iPad or camera up above everybody to take pictures or video of the fireworks. Realistically, for shows, for fireworks, and for attractions.
Yep.
If you want that memory, watch it. Watch the show through your eyeballs, not through a camera lens or a phone. You can YouTube literally every show that has ever existed in a Disney park and see it online in real time. Well, not in real time, but in your time at home on YouTube. Don't stress about trying to take 100 pictures every day and 80 hours of video. You're going to drive yourself nuts. And to be honest,
nobody's going to want to watch it.
Nobody's going to want to watch it, exactly.
Literally nobody.
Enjoy your day at the park.
And be in the moment. Just
Exactly.
enjoy the moment. Watch
Enjoy
the
the
look
moment.
on your kids' faces they're watching fireworks for the first time and seeing Tinkerbell fly. I mean, come on. That's going to be so much better than trying to capture everything on your cell phone.
Now, we're not saying don't take pictures and don't take video.
Oh, no,
Of
not
course,
at all.
you're going to have those in the moment times when you're going to want to snap, Jimmy's first interaction with Tiana, or you're going to want
Absolutely.
the look on somebody's face when they have Beverly for the first time.
There are going to be magical moments happening all over that you want to capture, that you want to keep. And those are so important, and absolutely get those.
And when it comes to attractions, don't forget Memory Maker and PhotoPass are available on a ton of attractions. So don't whip your camera out and take a picture while you're going through the ride of your family. Let your Magic Band trigger that for free now. It's part of the Genie Plus service as you purchase it now.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing. All of those in-ride photos are included with your Genie Plus purchase. So that is a huge thing.
And to access those, you do have to have a Disney account and use My Disney Experience app in order to access those.
Yes, good point. But just as a general rule, just keep an eye on your kids. Yes, Disney is a safe environment, but we want to keep it that way. So please watch your kids when you're in the pools. Watch your kids when they're on the monorail, when they're in the Skyliner, when they're in restaurants. It's just not the time to allow them to run around freely. Please.
Working Splash Mountain guest control. Boy, there's a lot of drinking moments in this time.
We're not calling them out,
Drink.
but if you're following along.
Yeah, when I was working at Splash Mountain guest control at Disneyland back in the 90s, I think it must have been, I walked up to a cast member, very quiet weekday off-season morning, and the cast member that was standing at the barn door at Splash had a baby in her hands. And I walked up and said, "For your sake, I hope that's your child." And she said, "No, I'm holding this for the parents that just went into the ride." I was like, "No!"
That is a huge no-no.
That's a huge no-no. Yes, cast members are checked out and are safe to, trust with family and friends.
But let's not put that to the test.
Right. Cast members cannot watch your child.
There is such a thing as rider swap or rider switch. We'll cover that in a future episode. But if you are going before we get to that, ask a cast member when you get there. It is a very good way to approach a ride if you have a little one. But let's talk about some queue etiquette, because everybody's at some point going to stand in a line. So how do you do that successfully?
Yes. Remember during COVID, everybody was 6 feet apart?
Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Wasn't that magical?
It was so good. That was like the best
loved
thing.
it.
It was a dream come true. You had your own car on the Skyliner. You had your own car on the monorail.
Just standing in a queue, everybody was 6 feet away from you. Well, hey, that's not going to happen today. What you need to do is just, and again, this is very, very, you should already know this, but
Let's just go over a few don'ts.
yeah, there you go. Good idea.
So while you're in a queue, don't push. Don't cut in line.
Ever.
Here's the trick. See, when it happened to us, There was...
Which time? You're going to have to be a lot more specific.
Oh, no, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because it still makes me mad. When it happened to us, we were standing very patiently in line for Spaceship Earth, and this old lady cut in front of us with her friend.
From New York.
Oh, my gosh.
So she had the attitude and the middle finger and everything.
I don't enjoy confrontation, but I was not quiet about this. I let her know right away where the back of the line was. I let her know how to find the back of the line. We
pointed with our hand open, just like the cast member would. Right back here.
I was very insistent, and she didn't ignore me. She didn't confront me. She just said, "Oh, well, it's close enough." And I said, "Well, then it's close enough for you to find the back of the line, isn't it?" See, here's the thing. They did not continue to cut the line forward and forward and forward, so they were on our ride vehicle with us.
Oh, yeah, awkward.
Good times. So keep this in mind. If you are the one who is doing the cutting, it's going to be super awkward all the way through that ride. You spend a lot of time in a queue, so just be decent people about it. Some other things that you can do when you are out and about and you see a family trying to take a family photo, if they're trying to do a selfie or if one person is left out, usually the mom is left out, offer to take a picture for them.
Yeah, as cast members, we have instincts that, hey, somebody's taking a picture. I can feel it. My spidey senses are going off. That's Disney now. We can actually use that. I love that. Anyway, but yeah, we'll take pictures all the time in the parks for other people because it's part of our cast member DNA.
And the great thing is, usually when you offer to take it for them, they usually reciprocate and they'll be like, "Hey, let me do that for you too." And then you get a great photo too. It's a win-win. It helps everybody. It makes everybody's day. So when Walt first designed Disneyland, he did not want trash everywhere, obviously. That was a huge thing, is to have a clean environment, because theme parks didn't really exist. Amusement parks and carnivals were not known for being clean. He wanted his park to be different. So he actually watched people, and if they had a empty wrapper of something or a straw or something, he would watch them and see how many steps they would take, literally count their steps before it went on the ground, before they stopped looking for a trash can. And the answer ended up being around 30. To this day, you will find a trash can just about every 30 steps. You're going to find one if you look around. There's going to be a trash can. So don't throw your trash in a bush. Don't throw it on the ground.
Give a hoot. Don't pollute.
I've heard that somewhere. And just a couple more things just to have a more pleasant experience. Know your surroundings. There's families, there's children everywhere. Please watch your language.
Yeah. Them 4-letter words that you hear come out your mouth. Watch yourself individually if you can. If everybody does that, then it will make a more family-friendly environment. And right now, family-friendly environments are getting harder and harder to find in our world.
Yep. Just be aware of your surroundings. That's all. Another that goes kind of along with that is don't ruin the magic for people. So your 100th visit might be somebody's first visit.
Yeah, please, please, please. If you're on the Haunted Mansion in the expanding room, don't quote along with the ghost host. I mean, there's going to be one kid in there who's never been there before, and if he hears everybody saying it, he's not going to actually hear what's being said. And
for some reason, that is the hardest place to control people's
That is the one place, yeah.
And it applies to any ride, but it happens particularly on the Haunted Mansion. I've been guilty of it myself. Someone starts it, and you just can't help but follow in. Just keep in mind, it's somebody's first visit. So don't ruin the magic. Let them experience it without you joining in. Just try.
One of my favorite memories as a cast member is when I worked in merch at Disneyland in the Emporium Complex and was standing on Main Street with my trainer at the time watching the fireworks. A little kid was standing next to me, and as the fireworks were going off, I looked down and I said, "Did you have a good day today?" And he looked up at me with bright eyes and said, "Yeah, I saw Mickey Mouse." And I just melted. There was no way I was going to break the magic for that child. And that, from a cast member perspective, is why we enjoy being cast members.
That's the gold right there.
Seeing the park through that child's eyes.
Or anybody's first visit, for that matter. So, children are just a lot more innocent
exactly.
about it.
And for that reason alone, that's why we're talking about how to guest today.
Yes.
It's for those children that are there for the first time. It's for those parents taking their children for the first time. If you're an annual pass holder, if you've been like us and you've been there literally hundreds of times, remember that when you see that child that's there for the first time. You experienced it for the first time once. Let them experience for the first time once.
Yes, that's so good. I love that. The very last point I want to hit before we end this is the very, very best way to make it a magical experience for yourself as a guest is to do some homework ahead of time.
Yes, please, please, please check out our podcasts, of course, because we have the best information. But like Sue said, if you want to get some really good information, watch other vlogs and listen to other podcasts like olliers.net, Mammoth Club,
Paging Mr. Morrow, Super Enthused. There's a ton of them out there that are great, great information. The thing that we don't want you to do is to come home from this trip that you just spent a week and you spent a month's salary trying to do this, and you come back and you hear about this thing and you say, well, nobody told me I could do that. Or I didn't know how to get back to my car at the end of the night. Or
what do you mean the People Mover doesn't go to the Contemporary? And yes, I argued with a guest one time at Magic Kingdom about that.
So know ahead of time what your priorities are, how to do them, and don't leave it to someone else to do the homework for you. Do your own research. Find out how to do those things so that you have your most magical trip ever. Before we get into our normal close off, I just want to say a great big thank you to Carlton. He's Carlton now. Carlton Smee, whose idea this was for us to do an episode on how to guest. I hope we hit all the points that you suggested, and I hope that it helps all of our other listeners. So thanks, Carly, for the suggestion.
Yeah, thank you, Carlton. That was a great idea. So this one's for you. Before we go, we'd like to give a big shout out to our social media coordinator, Riley Piper, audio engineers Joey Humphrey and Paul Trett, and logo designer Evan Piper. Without them, we would not be able to do what we do. Our theme music composer is Jason Patrick Rowan, and it's licensed through Pond 5. And of course, thank you, Phoenicians.
Thank you, Phoenicians. And don't forget to rate, review, like, and subscribe. It really, really does help other people find us. You can find us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Epcotian Adventure is a $1,000 brunch production. Thanks for joining us today for episode 28 of The Epcotian Adventure. I'm Rod.
And I'm Sue.
And we'll see you in line.
Bye. This is how to be a decent human. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, I don't.
Let's not say that.